Good evening, welcome to the ITV News in London. Tonight,
women were screaming. There were people screaming.
Out of nowhere, what caused a driver to plough into a group of people, causing critical injuries. Guilty, the serial burglar who stole almost £1 million from Simon Cowell's house as he slept. Spot the difference, the man who flew back from Barcelona using his friend's passport. And 4 women, 3,000 miles, more than 50 days at sea. What it's like to complete one of the world's toughest races. One man is being questioned and another is in a critical condition after a Mercedes mounted a pavement and ploughed into a group of people in south-east London. It happened at a car wash in Bellingham on Sunday morning. In total, the car hit 5 people, with those who saw what happened describing screams and wailing. Our senior correspondent, Ronke Phillips, has the details.
Lots of people, ambulances, firemen.
From the window of her home overlooking the crash, Sunita Bakane described the scene as one of absolute carnage. 5 bloodied victims lay injured along the pavement after the car veered off the road and into the area outside the car wash where they were working.
The women were screaming. There were people screaming.
What were they screaming? What was the...
So it's like a woman screaming for help, shouting for help. And there were ambulance people running and stuff, and then I understood it is serious because I already saw that there is like 4 or 5 people injured.
Emergency crews spent more than an hour working on the casualties as they lay on the ground. The injured 4 men and a woman were taken to hospital. A 25-year-old man is still in a critical condition, and 2 others, both pedestrians, are described as serious but stable. Exact details are still unclear, but witnesses say this Mercedes had been travelling along the Bromley Road in Bellingham when it hit the victims, smashed into bollards and crashed into a wall.
Actually, I was just across the road and I had some commotion and came out from the house.
This local resident initially thought it was a stabbing.
Initially, they said it was a knife attack. I said, well, how could that be? But there was no blood. Then I said, no. He said, well, they got run over by a car. We actually went through that place.
It's alleged the driver left the scene, was chased, but then returned to the area of his own accord.
The driver of the car was later arrested not far from here by an off-duty police officer. He had to be taken to a local hospital to be treated for a head injury.
As the car was taken away to be inspected, police confirmed a 23-year-old has been arrested and is tonight in custody being questioned on suspicion of causing serious injury by dangerous driving and drink driving. Ronke Phillips, ITV News.
A man's been found guilty of breaking into Simon Cowell's house and stealing jewellery worth almost £1 million. Darren February was convicted this afternoon after he broke into Cowell's 5-bedroom home in Holland Park while the star and his family slept. Nick Wallace is outside the house with more details. This was very much, Nick, a brazen break-in.
Yes, it happened in the early hours of the 4th of December 2015 as Simon Cowell, his partner Lauren Silverman and their 2-year-old son Eric slept. Now, Darren February, who's got at least 22 similar convictions to his name, scaled a wall at the rear of this property and then forced his way in through the patio doors. And when he actually got into the Cowell's property, he must have thought it was Christmas because the safe had been left open and the security guard, who was meant to be keeping an eye on things, was apparently on the toilet. So February managed to make off with £950,000 worth of jewellery, including a ring, earrings, watches and a diamond bracelet. But as he made his way out of the property down this street here, he was spotted by a security guard and tracked on CCTV. Now today, after seeing conclusive forensic evidence, the jury took less than an hour to convict Darren February. And although Simon Cowell isn't making any comment, the police have said he is a danger to society. He's going to be sentenced on Wednesday.
Nick Wallace in Holland Park, thank you. Next, the increasingly bitter battle over a car park outside Millwall's football stadium. A deal to force the club to sell the land to allow a developer to build homes was abandoned by the council a month ago. The club said the project could jeopardise its future. The developer Renewal still wants to go ahead with its plans and today accused Millwall's American owners of trying to make a quick killing. Needless to say, that hasn't gone down well at the Den, as our sports reporter Amy Lewis found out.
As car parks go, it is pretty unremarkable, but this one is at the heart of a very bitter and expensive row. Millwall are refusing to sell it to make way for a £1 billion regeneration project. In his first television interview, the developer has told me they're determined to go ahead, despite a compulsory purchase order which would force Millwall to sell the land being abandoned.
For now, the CPO has been dropped. Are you going to give up on that? Is that it?
Absolutely not. You know, we've worked 13 years on this, I myself, from the day we started. This is a story about, regenerating a much sort of deprived area of London.
They want to build 2,400 homes, an overground train station and shops. But they still need to acquire land to make that happen, including Millwall's car park. The developers believe the club are holding out for a better offer.
They just want a significant amount of money, and their view is that they have, through their own efforts, they've lost £60 million here. You have to ask yourself, what are American venture capitalists doing owning a football club in South East London? So their line is either the council or Renewal owes them for that.
We put those claims to Millwall's chief executive.
I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted that someone could describe the owners of this club, who are actively putting money in to make it work and to make ends meet and to progress the team and try and push the club as far forward, can be treated in such a manner. They've been here 10 years.
Is the football club trying to hold up this development because it simply wants more money for its car park?
No.
Millwall say they might have to move to a new ground if they lose their land.
We have to look after the club. We have to make sure the club is commercially viable going forward. It's not about a car park, it's about the commercial viability of the club. It's about access and egress into the stadium.
The regeneration project has been delayed because of an inquiry that will investigate the deal between the developer and Lewisham Council.
You yourself worked for the council. Again, can you see why fans will sit there and think, this relationship seems a little bit cosy?
This is, if you spend many years in an industry, as you do in media, then you are bound to know a lot of people in that industry. I did work for Lewisham Council as a senior officer. I left 22 years ago. That's it.
The residents and local businesses are caught in the middle. Willow Winston has been offered £58,000 for her home, but says it's not about the money.
It made me ill on several occasions. I would say out of the last 6 years, that 2 years of the 6 years I've not been working at my full power. To come back to full power, I've had to use an enormous amount of willpower of my own.
A lot of willpower is still going to be needed from all sides if they're going to reach a deal. The council says any regeneration project needs to be approved by them from scratch. Amy Lewis, ITV News.
The property developer behind the Shard has died at 82 after a short illness. Irvin Seller was born in Essex in 1936 and had a career in property spanning 65 years. He was most famous for the Shard, which was completed in 2012. Mr. Seller's son James will now take over the family business. A double-decker bus was incinerated in the early hours of this morning after catching fire in Poplar. Residents reported hearing a loud bang as the bus was engulfed by flames shortly before 1 a.m. The bus was empty at the time and there have been no reported injuries. TfL says it has opened an investigation to find out what caused the fire. Vandals who spray-painted Crystal Palace on what they thought was Middlesbrough's team bus were left embarrassed after it turned out to belong to their own team. The Vandals caused £40,000 worth of damage. Sam Allardyce's team still used the coach to get to their 1-0 win over Middlesbrough on Saturday afternoon. Transport for London has defended the type of questions being asked to test the English skills of minicab drivers. All private hire drivers must sit the test unless they can prove they have a qualification in GCSE English. But with questions on river pollution and life on Mars, some drivers claim they are irrelevant. TfL insists they're an effective way of testing communication skills. You can make up your own mind and sit part of the test yourself by going to our website. Just search for ITV London. Now, do you think you could tell the difference between these two men? Well, it appears several immigration officials couldn't. Jeff Horton accidentally picked up his friend Jason Chart's passport on a trip to Spain and managed to clear security with it at Barcelona and Luton on his way home to Stevenage. Experts have described it as an issue of national security. Katie Oakes has the story.
Look closely at photographs of these two friends and the differences appear clear. Compare that, though, to their passport photos, and it seems it's much trickier to tell them apart. Which is how Jeff Horton managed to unwittingly travel with the passport of his friend Jason Chart from Barcelona to Luton last Tuesday. He claims he went through 4 separate security checks, 2 in each country.
Well, I was shocked, really, because obviously, you know, obviously the heightened terrorism and things like that, and it's a case of it was physically looked at, you know, and I know, apart from the bald head, there's not really much. We don't really look like twins or anything like that, me and my friend. Just genuine mistake, just got through, and then it's not until I checked, I thought, well, I'll come all the way from Barcelona on someone else's passport, my friend's passport.
His own name was printed on his boarding card, but that was never checked against the name in the passport in Spain. At the UK border, electronic scanners picked up something wasn't right.
It through, and it said seek assistance. So I took it out, looked at the lady, and she said, I'll do it again, face down, everything like that, so, which I did. So I did that again, and it still said seek assistance. So I turned to come out and said, oh, it's just not working. She said, that's okay, go to the guy over there, the border guy. He looked at it and just folded it up and gave it to me, and I went.
The Home Office won't comment on this case, but told us where our officers detect false and illegally obtained documents, they can and do stop travellers from entering the UK.
Well, it's obviously an issue of national security, the fact that someone, a British citizen using someone else's passport, was able effectively to come into the UK without being stopped. So there are a number of issues. There are some issues in Spain, but more particularly issues in the UK.
As Jeff and Jason work out how to swap their passports back, the Home Office will be asking how border staff managed to miss the mix-up. Katie Oakes, ITV News.
You're watching the ITV News in London. Still to come, inside the 1930s gay club that was shut down by the police. And the Dolphin in the Thames. We're out with the woman who spotted this. But first, anyone who has experienced an eating disorder knows it's no laughing matter. But my first guest tonight is going on stage night after night, turning it into one. Dave Chawner wants to bring humour to the difficult and, in his words, very unfunny topic to engage people. Before we meet him, here's a glimpse of him in action on stage.
There is a gap in the market for the first famous male anorexic. It's not a very big gap, but... And that's not why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this. I don't want fame or glory. You know, I'm not doing it for that. I don't want to be on telly, right? You know, the camera adds £10. You can go away.
The Brixton-based comedian is in the middle of his tour entitled Normally Abnormal. I'm thrilled to say he joins me now. Thank you for coming in. Some people may wince or even be offended at that clip, but you are turning your own experience with anorexia into this material.
Yeah, definitely. I think comedy always kind of engages with sort of real life things, and I think comedy is a beautiful medium because when people are laughing, they're listening. When they're listening, they can learn. And I kind of wanted to use that in order to kind of educate people who are lucky enough to have no kind of reference point to this, but equally try and take away some of that sort of seriousness and that taboo around people that do have the disorder themselves.
You suffered for 10 years. How was that decade?
It wasn't ideal. I think that, like, for me, it's kind of like, it's one of these things that's underreported, and, like, it's also as well, I never felt extreme enough. I read about, you know, girls that were really thin, girls that, like, ate only so many calories, and I didn't find that kind of helpful. Because I think, you know, you can equally drown as much in a puddle as you can in a lake. So it's not as how skinny you get, it's not about how many calories you get, it's a mental health thing.
And really, still now, even though I am now sitting here talking to you, it's still quite a taboo issue to be a man and suffer from an eating disorder.
It is. It's, well, like, depending on which statistics you read, 10 to 25% of anorexics are male. That is going up year on year. And that might be because we're recognising it more, that might be because more men are coming forward, or that might just be because more men are having it. I think what the most important thing is for anyone, regardless of male, female, or even trans, that it's kind of talking about it, getting that help, and sort of, yeah, being honest.
I read this weekend that Jennifer Saunders is saying she's not going to bring back Absolutely Fabulous onto television because we're all too politically correct now and hypersensitive. You are clearly ignoring all that and just going for it with this material to try and raise awareness and also raise money.
Yeah, I think you have to take in mind intent. If you are laughing at someone, that's bullying. But if you are using comedy as a tool to sort of break something down and make something less taboo, then I think that's only got to be a good thing. And also, something that people don't think about as well is I think it's even more stigmatising to sort of say to people with mental illness, oh, we've got to be serious, because you don't treat your friends always seriously. Why would you treat somebody who's suffering always like, oh, are you okay?
You haven't plugged the charity. You describe yourself as a comedian and a mental health campaigner. Plug the charity, because all the proceeds for your tour are going to this charity. It
all goes to BEAT. They are the UK's Eating Disorder Charity, and details on the website, be-eat.co.uk.
Good luck with the rest of the tour. Dave Chawner, keep making people laugh. Thank you. And if you or someone you know needs help or advice on any of the issues we've talked about, go to our website. Next tonight, a rare insight into the underground world of London's gay scene in the 1930s. Back when homosexuality was illegal, a network of secret bars and clubs existed in Soho. They were frequently raided by police, and many gay and lesbian people were prosecuted. Well, now their history is being brought back to life by the National Trust and the National Archives. Ria Chatterjee went to the site of a club closed down in 1934.
In secret, to the reedy sounds of a piano accordion, glasses sloshing with whiskey, men and women felt free to be themselves.
It says the Caravan Club is London's greatest bohemian rendezvous, the most unconventional spot in town, and it's described in the records as packed full of people, full of smoke, men dancing with men, women dancing with women on a packed dance floor.
But it was risky. The police monitored clubs like this, acting on information provided by the public.
And there was other organisations like the Public Morality Council, which was set up in 1899 to combat vice and indecency in London. And that actually had its own agents that would patrol the streets and report any kind of goings-on which was against societal norms.
This recreation of the club, as close to the original as possible, commemorates the partial decriminalisation of homosexuality in 1967.
Giving people who perhaps have been voiceless in the past a voice is really, I suppose, the kind of main reason behind it. But also, you know, we're an organisation that believes in truth, we believe in history, we believe in those narratives, and so wanting to tell, to give the full picture, feels like it's incredibly important.
Just 50 years ago, for many people, the act of loving someone was quite literally a crime. Spaces like the Caravan Club gave people an opportunity to socialise in safety and without fear. This showcase uses police photographs, witness accounts and old love letters to capture the sense of claustrophobia. A man called Cyril wrote to the owner of the club in gratitude.
He recognises the danger if he gets caught, so he says, please be a dear boy and destroy this note.
In August 1934, the club was raided by police. 103 people were given warnings, lenient for a time in which being gay could mean imprisonment or hard labour. The Caravan Club was shut down, but the community took their spirit of resistance elsewhere. Ria Chatterjee, ITV News.
Next this evening, how do you go from being an office-based worker in the city to spending 55 days at sea crossing the world's second biggest ocean? Becky Charlton is one of 4 women who have done just that, battling not just the mental and physical challenge itself, but some of the worst waves the Atlantic had to offer. Becky joins me now along with 2 of her rowing crewmates, Sarah Hornby and Charlie Best, who all come from different backgrounds but share a passion for the sea. Thank you, ladies, for coming in. I'll start with you, Becky. Tell me about the worst of the times on the sea, the waves. How were they?
Yeah, I think for me, the waves, definitely some of the hardest times, and we had it from about day 2, some really big waves. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire into ocean rowing, having to learn how to kind of control the boat and look after ourselves in those conditions.
You must have been prepared for that. People must have told you what it's like to cross the Atlantic, but when you are faced with them in reality, how hard was it?
It's tough, but we know, or we knew the procedures we had to go through to manage it. So all you do is you take the next logical step. And I don't think you really realise the enormity of it all until it's all over and you can breathe a sigh of relief.
And that was day 2, Charlie. So how do you then go on and carry through to more hard days as the time ticks down?
It's surprising. You find yourself just getting up and rowing, and then you finish your rowing shift and you go to sleep and you eat, you look after yourself, and all of a sudden you realise that it's routine. You get into routine and it just becomes okay. The next bad day after that, it's going to be you just sort of little bite-sized chunks, and you suddenly find that you've got through another scary day or another tough day, and it's a lovely sunrise.
What was the hardest for you, the mental battle or the physical one? How are the arms? When you landed, day 55.
Yeah, the physical was something we could really prepare for with our coaches on shore, and I think we managed that quite well. The mental one is absolutely enormous, and I don't think it's anything you can properly prepare yourselves for, but that's what your teammates are for, and you get each other through. And we always had good spirits on the boat, and we helped each other along the way.
Becky, what did your colleagues think? You work in the city, you're in HR, and you say, yeah, I'm going to miss Christmas this year. I'm heading off to the Canary Islands to head off across the Atlantic in a rowing boat.
Yeah, I think probably a bit mad. We were a team for 2.5 years before we got to the start line, so a little bit of time to prepare for them. But I think we're a bit mad, to be honest. Yeah.
And very briefly, for anyone who has never attempted any kind of endurance feat, this is one of the toughest races in the world. Why? Why did you do it?
Why not? We are privileged to be in a position where we can go and do that. We worked really hard on the campaign to even get to the start line, and we've had the opportunity to raise some money for some fantastic charities along the way.
And you're looking brilliant on it as well. Things I shouldn't say, but I have done. Becky, Sarah, Charlie, thank you so much for coming to speak to me. OK, time to pause to find out what's coming up after us. Here's Mary.
The 5-year-old who died hours after a GP refused to see her. Ellie May and her mother were late for her appointment. She was told to return the next morning, but she died just 5 hours later. The first victims give evidence to the troubled child sex abuse inquiry more than 2 years after it was set up. And
there's a mistake.
That jaw-dropping moment the Oscars messed up. We examine exactly what went wrong. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Before that, just over 10 years ago, Londoners and whale watchers the world over were gripped by the story of the Thames whale. The 5-metre-long female bottlenose was spotted in central London in January 2006. She appeared to be lost, having strayed into the river from her normal habitat in the Northern Oceans. Attempts were made to rescue the exhausted animal and return her to the sea, but sadly she died before she could be released. Well, now another slightly smaller sea creature has been spotted near Embankment. Martin Stew is there to explain. Martin.
Well, it's testament to just how much cleaner the Thames is getting, that in the last 10 years there's been 2,500 sightings of seals, of whales, of porpoises and dolphins. And it was either a porpoise or a dolphin that was spotted just behind me. The footage was caught on a mobile phone footage. Hopefully we can have a look at it now. It was swimming around just underneath the Hungerford Bridge, and it was filmed by Lottie, who works for the Thames Rib Experience. I've come into the kiosk where she was working on Sunday at 11 o'clock when you spotted it. Lottie, how surprised were you to see it there?
I was really surprised. We've never seen anything like that down here before.
And it wasn't just there for a brief moment, was it? It was playing around for a while.
Yeah, it was here for a few hours. We first see it at about 11 o'clock and it was here until around 1.
Now, of course, you work on a company which is on boats and all your colleagues are going out and about regularly, but they don't see this sort of thing that often, do they?
No, not really. We've been here for 9 years now and we've only seen 3, this being the 3rd one, so they are really rare.
And the final question, we're not sure if it's a dolphin or a porpoise. Can you throw any light on that?
I don't know. I'm not a marine expert, but I've done a bit of research today. I think it could have been a porpoise.
Porpoise, slightly smaller, slightly more rounded nose. It looks like it might be that. OK, Lottie, thank you very much indeed. Weather-wise, it's freezing here and it's getting even colder tonight. So I'm sure today's showers wouldn't have been too much of trouble for that dolphin or porpoise or whatever it was, but I reckon a few people were caught out this afternoon. In the last couple of hours we've had reports of lightning, certainly some heavy showers with hail in dotted right around much of the London area, and tonight we continue with those showers and also the risk of some ice as temperatures fall away. And actually, as we go through much of this week, things quite unsettled and quite wet, as we can see here. Fair bit of rain pushing its way across the southeast corner of the UK. Thursday looks like it's going to be the best day, as you can see some clearer spells before that rain arrives on Friday. And Friday at the moment, what it's looking like it's going to be a little bit of a washout. Back out to this evening and tonight, and you can see the showers slowly clearing away in the next couple of hours to leave some clearer skies. Quite a breezy night and quite a cold night too, with less cloud around than we've seen of late. Those temperatures are going to fall away, so down to 1 degree at Gatwick, which is why we've got that risk of some ice. It is going to be a chilly night as well in the wind. So tomorrow morning is then, well, a chilly start again. On the plus side, not too much in the way of clouds, so plenty of sunshine around, a bright start and dry as well, largely anyway, until lunchtime. After lunch, we then get this organised band of rain pushing towards us. There'll be some quite heavy pulses of rain in that, so it'll be a bit of a wet and miserable middle to the afternoon, feeling quite cold in the wind when that rain is around. Looking further ahead, well, Wednesday is going to start dry, but it turns wetter into the afternoon. Thursday, as I mentioned, well, that's the best day of the week with some nice sunny spells before it's a bit of a washout on Friday. Goodbye.
Finally tonight, while the inquest into last night's Oscar error goes on, there's one group of designers in Soho very happy that there was no mistake in the visual effects category.
And the Oscar goes to The Jungle Book.
We featured the team at Moving Picture Company after The Jungle Book won the BAFTA earlier this month. And the film's American bosses paid tribute to those who worked on it as they accepted the award.
And last but not least, these 3 gentlemen, geniuses behind me, who commandeered 1,000 superb artists and contributed so greatly and made so many winning decisions that, you know, quite frankly, they actually got tired of winning. Like, that's a thing. So I think I'm done. Well, thank you to all our artists. The next round of applause is for you. You deserve it as much as we do. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to them, of course. And the full story behind the mother of all mistakes at the Oscars is coming up with Mary on the ITV Evening News. But from me and everyone on the London team for now, bye-bye.